Hello and welcome to Firearm Freedom. In today's video, we are going to be diving back into suppressors. More specifically, should you suppress your handgun? And before we get this video started, as always, I wanted to give a quick shout out to this video's sponsor. This video's sponsor is going to be Air Venturi. I am finally getting into the air gun world. I messed around with pellet rifles a ton when I was a kid, but I never had the money or the opportunity to get into the PCP air gun world, and I finally do now with Air Venturi. I've been taking a look at their Avenge X tactical PCP air gun, and it is pretty sweet. You're going to be seeing quite a bit more coming out on that gun in the future, and they offer a variety of different PCP rifles, from the more tactical stuff also to the big bore, really gorgeous looking wood stock stuff. They also have field air compressors that you can use to fill up your air tank, and a variety of other different accessories for your air gun. Now, they can be found at different air gun suppliers out there online, and I seriously appreciate their support here on the channel. Suppressing your handgun. I'm probably going to get a little bit of flack in this video in the comments section underneath, because I have a feeling my opinions on this topic are probably not going to agree with a lot of people out there. If you guys haven't guessed it already, especially by this suppressor playlist that you may be watching this on, I have quite a few videos on suppressors. I do work at a gun shop that deals heavily in NFA items, so because of that, I have had the opportunity to take a look at a ridiculous amount of suppressors, and I have been dealing in suppressors now for a very, very long time. I've had a lot of experience shooting these things at the range. Now, I'm still by no means an expert, but this is just kind of my opinion in just what I can give you for information on maybe some of your first suppressors. When I first got into the suppressor world, I had every intention to start off with a handgun suppressor. Way back in the time that I got into suppressors, it was back, sad to say, when ammunition was still dirt cheap for handguns, and I was picking up probably about 1,000 round case of Perfecta ammunition at Walmart for like sub 120 bucks. It was just ridiculous, the prices that I was seeing. And I was able to pick up subsonic 9mm and 45 for $12 a box. It's a kick to the gut every time I remember, trust me. But regardless, I was shooting handguns so frequently. And then also, at the range that I was currently at the time, the range that you may have seen in the beginning of this channel, I could not really dynamically shoot rifles anywhere, but I could dynamically shoot handguns. So for me, it made all the sense in the world to go with a handgun suppressor. The first range day, I get out there with my pistol suppressor and I'm pressing out. It was on my Glock 17 and I felt like Jason Bourne on the range. It was the coolest day of my life and it was relatively quiet. And I know many of you are probably thinking, yeah, that's why you love pistol suppressors, right? That's why you want to keep going with pistol suppressors, why you recommend it for the first one. No, anymore, I hate running handguns suppressed, and that is just the reality of it. I test so many different suppressors for this channel, and I do love PCC/submachine gun suppressors for those pistol calibers, but when it comes to running an actual handgun suppressed, I have just really grown to not like it that much. And the reasons for that I will explain now. When it comes to suppressing a handgun, you are taking something that is very mobile, easy to holster, easy to stow away, and really something that's designed to fight to get to a larger firearm. That's kind of the purpose of handguns. Now, of course, in our civilian world, for the most part, they're our primary method of self-defense. When you add a large suppressor to the end of said handgun, it becomes not too easy to tote around anymore. Now, of course, obviously, most people are not concealed carrying with a suppressor, but at the range, this can become a little bit of an annoyance, especially if you're at a range where you may have to walk, 50, 60 feet in order to get up to the shooting line or whatever, and there's not really that many benches or places to set something down. Now, your once easily able to be placed item is kind of obnoxious because you have this massive long suppressor on the end of it. So it becomes difficult to holster, it becomes a little bit heavier, it becomes a little bit more obnoxious. For that reason, it's not the best. But then also, I am not a huge fan of the fact that you have to constantly be threading on your pistol suppressor. If you are using a standard Americanized thread pitch of, say, 1/2x28, which is a majority of 9mm threaded barrels that are out there for handguns, you are constantly making sure that the handgun suppressor is tight. It is not like a rifle suppressor where it is quickly locking into place and staying there until you remove it. Almost every few magazines, that thing is going to slowly work its way off. And you really want to hesitate in using any sort of a O-ring to keep it in place because, of course, that can cause concentricity issues. I know there's a lot of like pipe sealing tape and other things that people use on those threads, but again, it's a little bit of an annoyance if I'm being completely honest and upfront with you guys at the range. Now, there are a few different systems out there that really do a good job going away from this, and that would be like the Griffin piston cam locking system that they have. So it's just a quickly locking taper mount that you can put on the end of your threaded barrel, and that does a very good job. That kind of gets rid of a lot of that annoying backing off. And then also a lot of European thread pitches you will come to love if you are shooting your handgun suppressed frequently. 16x1 left hand and also 13.5 left hand thread pitch are going to be two typical European thread pitches for handguns. It has almost a self-tightening feature on the threads. Because they are opposite, typically with recoil, the suppressor is going to tighten rather than loosen. So that is also something to be aware of with that complaint. My biggest gripe with running handguns suppressed, and that is how they shoot after that. So a lot of folks may have not ever shot a handgun suppressed, but it's not quite how it looks in the movies. It is taking a gun that, again, as it sits, is just fine, and adding a very large, cumbersome object on the end. Even if it is a lightweight suppressor, you know it's on the end, and you can feel, again, this kind of difference in weight. And then when you shoot it, because of the recoil system in the piston housing, you have a, we call it like a dolphin wave recoil. So when you see people like, say, mag dumping with a suppressed pistol, you've seen it probably in some of the B-roll in this video, my hands are having a very difficult time staying straight, staying on target. You have kind of this like weird like wave sort of recoil, and that is just because of how the whole gun is working with the suppressor. When the barrel of the pistol recoils out, the spring in the piston housing is sending it forward to allow the barrel to freely move separate of the suppressor. And when they come back together, it creates, again, a very interesting recoil effect. And I won't lie to you guys, it will absolutely change how you are shooting that gun, and it will hurt the effectiveness of your capabilities with that pistol. It just will. Now, aside of all those things, in general, a lot of handguns out there have a lot of just crap shooting out the back of them when you shoot them suppressed. It is just the nature of the beast with a handgun suppressor. You can get away from this a little bit by having a optic mounted on your slide, but then the optic acts essentially as a face shield against all of the carbon and crud and debris coming out of the breech. So of course it will protect your face a little bit. It is going to just coat your optic with carbon and other things. Now, hammer-fired guns simply change where that carbon and debris is coming out of. So instead of it mainly coming out of the breech, it is going to come through the back where the hammer is smacking the firing pin. Typically underneath the slide there, it creates like a little track for all that carbon to come out on. And every time you pull that trigger, it's just like, and it's just popping stuff all over your face. You can feel it pelting your eye pro, you can feel it pelting your face, and it's definitely something you want to wear eye protection with always, even though you already should be doing that when you are shooting firearms at the range. At the end of the day, I don't know if the pros outweigh the cons, and I consistently find myself getting less and less excited about shooting handgun suppressed. I actually kind of dread it at the range. I didn't see any of this information out there online. I saw a lot of people that review suppressors and would talk about them frequently, and I don't know if anyone really feels this way as well. But this is how I feel, and coming from someone like myself who's shot quite a bit of suppressors at the range, I really would tend to push towards a rifle suppressor nowadays than a handgun suppressor if you are going to get one. What I will say about pistol caliber suppressors and where I absolutely love them and think they shine is on pistol caliber carbines. If we're looking at something like a Strybog or an MP5 or a B&T or a Scorpion, these are all guns that I love shooting and also love shooting suppressed. That is one area that really mixes a pistol caliber carbine with a rifle in the way of a suppressor. It is less maintenance. You can put it on the end with a tri-lug mount and it's going to stay in place. You can really leave it on there and forget about it. And that is where I think pistol caliber suppressors truly shine. So if you're looking at a 9mm or a 45 ACP suppressor, I'd strongly recommend to look at one for a carbine rather than a handgun. Now, I know a lot of people are going to argue, well, I want a suppressor on my home defense handgun. If you do, I understand the purposes behind that and why you would want it to be a little bit quieter in the house, and that may be a reason to go with a pistol caliber suppressor for a handgun. The one place that it really doesn't matter as much is with a rimfire setup. If you're looking at like a Ruger Mark IV pistol that's threaded or any other .22 pistol that's threaded, that is awesome to run suppressed. There's no doubt about it. And that is not really what I'm talking about in this video. Rimfire is another video entirely on kind of the pros and cons of running rimfire guns suppressed, but ultimately this is where I stand. Let me know what you guys think down in the comment section below. I'm very curious to hear your thoughts. Do you love running your handgun suppressed or do you hate it? What is the deal? What do you guys think? While you're down there, head up to the description, check out those links to support the channel, and as always, stay tuned for more great videos coming soon.